Hi everyone. How are we all doing today? Um, Another bit of a just thoughts I've been having. They've been going through my head. Um, Look, in a lot of urbanist circles, they focus a lot on data and all that kind of stuff. And the data, just like with a lot of things, you give people facts, it's not going to change how they feel. Because when people make decisions about, what they believe or what policy they want to follow or anything like that, the way that they feel in their gut tends to determine how they are going to act about any of those specific things. And by that, I mean voting or, being a little bit more involved in how, the local council or whatever might be making decisions that are going to be affecting their quality of life. And the thing is, when it comes to cars and when it comes to how we have built our society, I think just getting down to the root, like feelings that we all have about this kind of stuff is a really, really important thing to do. When we get in our cars, we feel, I think most people feel a sense of safety, right? And I think the reason why they feel that safety is because, or why we all, as a society in North America, feel that safety is because you're in this very comfortable space. That has all the modern trappings of all the modern vehicles where, really nice decor, or, the good, comfortable seats. We've got heated seats, we've got heated steering wheels, cooling seats. We've got a million and one different types of media that we can play. It's quiet. We can't hear what's going on outside, even if we're traveling really, really fast, down the road. But what I don't think any of us really take into account is how uncomfortable we feel when we are not in a car because of cars. Okay? It's just something that not a lot of us really think about. And I think the reason for that is because we built our world the way that we have it. Again, this is strictly a North American thing after being around the world to a few, well, not strictly North American. In Australia and New Zealand, also kind of similar, but we've really taken the car-centric design in North America really, really seriously. And there is no amount of money that we won't put into investing in more lanes, more highways, and it doesn't matter what's around. We just look at it as like, hey, the only way to get around is by car, and we're going to put in as many lanes as we possibly can here, and we will bankrupt cities and we will borrow money to make that happen. We'll hope that all the tax dollars being exchanged by the purchase of cars and car-related services and fuel and all that kind of stuff is going to offset those costs. Now, again, this isn't something where I've looked into a whole ton of data. The math that people have done seems to basically say that cars are a money sink. Putting in that new extra lane, it might feel like for us as the driver, yeah, cool, it's nice to have an extra lane there. But the price tag that comes with that and the amount of cost to society, I think it was not just bikes, it said it was about 11 cents per kilometer that the general public subsidizes car drivers. That seems to make sense to me. It's not cheap to put in roads. It's not cheap to fix roads. It's not cheap to expand roads. Okay. And they get worn out really, really quick because these vehicles we drive nowadays are massive. It just causes a lot of stress, a lot of pressure on asphalt, on concrete, on all the surfaces the cars drive on. But I'm not here to talk about the economics behind things. What I want to get back to is how it feels to not be in a car while surrounded by cars. Now, I'm someone who deals with this fairly well. Okay. I've been around cars my whole life. I have driven a lot. I still drive a lot. But basically, when it comes down to the feeling of, sitting on a patio in a car dependent place, sitting on a patio in a car dependent place, that essentially, like, it just doesn't feel great. Because while you're in that place, what you are feeling and what you are smelling and what you are hearing are all things that they're not comfortable or nice for any of us. And again, it's not something that really bothers me all that much, but the amount of times where I've been out for a drink on a patio or a bite to eat on a patio or a coffee on a patio or something like that, and I'm trying to have conversation with the person I went there with in our car, but all the other cars are whizzing by or slamming to a stop or doing burnouts or honking at each other while the exhaust fumes get kicked up in the air. None of it feels good. And I think it's something that we've forced ourselves to become used to it. But like if we look at, again, you sit two tables down from someone who's having a cigarette, right? Now, assuming you live in an area where smoking on patios is banned, right? It's not great, and people have a huge issue with people smoking. And I get that, right? I understand that, we haven't built our society around smoking. And we don't see smoking as being as necessary of a thing as driving, right? Driving, like what we see that is like, well, you need your car to get around. And because you need your car to get around, therefore, we will forego all the issues that come with that, all the discomfort that we might feel, again, when we're not in that vehicle, because we can see ourselves, we can feel ourselves in that vehicle. But when it comes down to, like what the actual effect on people is generally negative. Even if we do have a fairly high threshold for it, even if, we are used to being around vehicles and don't mind the smell and all that, it keeps us on edge. It doesn't allow us to hear the other people talk as well. We're constantly breathing stuff in. The pollutants and all that are settling onto the food, into the drinks that we're consuming. And this is just from one thing, from just being on a patio, right? If we think about kids, on a playground, and even if the speed is very heavily regulated outside the school, there's still tends to be cars driving by all day. That's stuff that kids are going to be breathing in all the time. And then even looking at electric cars, like that accounts for tailpipe emissions. It doesn't account for things like tire and brake wear, where tiny little particulates are getting kicked off of those still, and that's what is just hanging around in the air. And there's no way to properly flush that out. If the air's heavy, the air's sitting, it's just there, right? So, like, I think it is really time to say, hey, we need to reevaluate what our relationship is with the world around us and look at really critically at how we built our society and think about how we could do things better. Okay. Like, again, I drive a lot, and in my use case, I think it is like I have to do it for work. And I don't just mean like I have to drive to the office, like I have to be driving to multiple locations all day, every day. But there are a ton of people out there who they just drive to work and home from work, and maybe drive the kids to soccer practice, or again, drive to that restaurant or whatever. And like cars, in my opinion, they actually are incredible feats of engineering. They like phenomenal. The fact that you can drive, over 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, or whatever, when it's minus 20 outside, and be warm and comfortable, and your car will detect things and keep you in the vehicle safe. That's all great. Like, those are all really, really incredible things. And, I am very grateful that we have that technology. What I'm not grateful for, though, is the fact that you can't be outside of a car in most places that you would want to be in and feel good. Like, being in a park or being, again, at a cafe or anything like that that's next to a road sucks. And that's why we have to lock ourselves inside so often, so much of the time, because it's just not comfortable to be next to a 6 lanes of traffic, while cars are whizzing by. And again, like, people are being idiots and honking at each other. Like, I don't want to be hearing any of that conflict while I'm trying to enjoy a nice, relaxing, peaceful, outing, either with myself or with friends or whatever, right? So when it comes down to this whole thing, like, I really wish that we would structure everything a bit different. And we would make it so that the car is still a viable mode of transport, but it's not the only mode of transport. And maybe we get a little bit smarter about how we plan the areas that people actually want to be in, so that, at the very least, we can make it just a little bit more comfortable, and start to change things in a way that really make places that we as humans want to be, places that we as humans support, not get overridden by, again, the amount of discomfort, the amount of haze, and the amount of pollution, and the noise that cars create. I don't think it's too hot of a take. And again, this isn't an anti-car rant. This is more just trying to just putting some thoughts out there about how a couple of changes that I would like to see that I think would make my life better, but also would make all of our lives better. And because so few people have experienced this, or maybe have experienced it in just such limited pockets, I think it really warrants a bit of a broader conversation about what we should be expecting when we build, and how we should be designing things so that people and people's comfort comes above people, and people's comfort can occur inside and outside of a vehicle. Probably be the best way I could put it. Anyway, those are just a couple of random thoughts for the day. Sorry, my hair looks so shitty. It's just kind of my natural state of being when I get into my rants here. But yeah, hope you all have a fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you some other time.